Be a killer from a full-time hunter. Chapter 221-240. Chapter 221 _ Jia Zishu left with his teammates. The number of people dropped by half in an instant, leaving only the foursome of Xiaoji and a middle-aged man dressed as a mature man. For some reason, looking at this man, Yi consciously imagined him as an ape. Is it an illusion? Then, tell me now about your next plans. The look returned to normal. 2 card is triggered, 15 people are required to enter Shufula, buy together. Now add Yaiki and Gorinu. There are only 6 people, which is far from enough for the 15 people needed. Of course, if the beast can also be counted in the number of people. The people present at the moment are enough. Although half of the members of the brigade were absorbed by Elbella. Incapacitated, the combat effectiveness dropped significantly. But several of the fighters were solved by Yi himself. Before Elbella absorbed the thoughts, it was absorbed by the Bengyu. The thought beasts produced by these people will not appear to be lacking in ability. Pity. Nian Beast does not have a game ring and cannot be perceived by the game system. Cannot be counted. Next, we're going to find enough 15 people. Xiaoji took a step forward. Tell Yi what you think. The rest of the 4 present had no objection to what Xiaoji said. Yi narrowed his eyes slightly. Xiaoji and the others have not noticed the problems in themselves and others. Yi saw at a glance the sense of discord between several people. Xiaoji and Kiju 18 Chao stepped on people and learned to read under Bai Siji. Her strength is the strongest among several people, and her knowledge is also the most extensive. Any decision should be made or spoken by Bishiji. But at this moment, it was Xiaoji who spoke. The 3 did not feel anything wrong. If the 3 people are accustomed to the strange and piercing diseases, this can be explained in the past. But Guo Lianu was different. He should have met Xiaoji and others for the first time. At this moment, he also unknowingly changed into a state led by Xiaoji. Personality, wrong, is a natural leadership ability. Thinking about it. This seems to be the only explanation. We're going to work with Weizuela and the others to get the number 2 card together. Xiaoji didn't find the night 1 scene. Ji's Jula they have 4 people, if you add them, we have 10 people. 5 people away, we can choose from those players who gave up the game and wanted to go back to the real world. As long as we will send them back to the real world on the condition that they will not refuse. Tell your thoughts. Clearly organized. Obviously well thought out. 15 games, we just need to be sure we can win half of them. Yi closed his eyes and thought about the possibility of cooperation. Have you considered the upper limit of cardization? The coastline of card number 2 is 1 ping, and the upper limit of cardization is 3. Quote. If Leza and Haydao are defeated, how should the cards be distributed? There are already 3 groups present. You know, I collect cards separately from you. Pity. Xiaoji didn't seem to calculate Yi separately. The eloquent appearance was instantly petrified. He subconsciously divided Yi to his own side, and didn't want to get a card for Yi. On the side, Qi Lianu and others. Unexpectedly, Xiaoji made a mistake on this key point. He looked at him subconsciously. You idiot, you didn't think about such a crucial point. I saw that you were so confident just now that you thought you had everything planned. Qi Gizzard ran directly to Xiaoji's side and kept poking at Xiaoji's head with his hands. Jixi ran to the 2 of them and tried to fight. 3 young children, friendships developed exceptionally rapidly over the course of several months of training. Only Yi swiped in the direction of Guo Lianu. 1 more person. The easiest way is to let the extra person disappear. Guo Lianu suddenly froze. Feel the coming of a crisis. Quite a while. Gloria stood up. His actions attracted everyone present. Flowers. Since there is a problem with the allocation of cards, then I will withdraw from the allocation of cards. As a price, I hope that you can compensate for the corresponding value. Look firm. There is no feeling of reluctance. Perhaps he had already had a similar idea before the joint team was formed. Ah, that's great, since you're willing to give up the card, Gloria, then you can proceed with the plan. Guo Lianu's remarks made Xiaoji, who was overjoyed by Qi Argon's conversation, overjoyed. If it's money, he doesn't have much on him. 50 billion rennie after the customs clearance is enough to compensate Guo Lianu. Qi Yuan Geishuo also let Xiaoji go. Yi Yi looked at Guo Lianu. Unexpectedly, his reaction was quite fast, dispelling the thoughts before Yi Yi. Since there is no Guo Lianu points card, the allocation of number 2 card can be solved. Well, before we find Wei Zhui and them, let's see if there are other players who can clear the level together, preferably the type who is not interested in clearing the level. Although Yi Yi joined the team together. But Xiaoji still felt that the number of people was not enough. After all, he only heard Guo Lianu talk about the role of Juez Jula, and did not really see his own strength. There is always an uneasy feeling. Would you like to find him? Xiaoji summons his own card book. Point to a name that surprises Yaiki. Haiso. Yukishin was slaughtered by Krolo's Rose. Even on the night of the night, in the absence of protective measures, you must kneel. Unexpectedly, Hisoka could survive this attack. This surprised Yi Yi. Back then, I didn't know I met him there, and his name was on the album. Xiaoji didn't care about Yi Yi's surprise. After all, when he first saw the name, he was surprised for a long time. To survive that horrific attack. Let him look at Hisoka at the second highest point. After a while. BOOK. Use your peers, Hisoka. Chapter 222 Andonibal. The 3 figures quickly fell under the action of the spell card. Cut, as I said, this union will definitely fail, and there is no need to participate. And they said that the bomb demon can't even be beaten by a robber. Okay Yashida, don't talk about it. The 3 walked towards the hotel where they usually lived. Judging by their conversations. Just participated in the walkthrough to get card number 2. It's a pity that they didn't find a male player with glasses passing by beside them. Do not. In other words, even if you notice it, you don't care. After all, they only know the name of the bomber, called Ganshu. But I don't know what he looks like. Even if you saw it with your own eyes, you probably wouldn't recognize it. The trio gradually drifted away. 10 minutes after 2040. Several explosions suddenly sounded in the streets of Andonival. Soon. Ganshu walked out of the street. There was a smile on his face. Join us against us. Interesting, hope you guys can give us more fun. The figure gradually disappeared. Having received unexpected information, he needs to make some preparations in advance. Example, hunting players. Since there are already players team up to deal with him. Then he counterattacks in advance, and it will be possible to deal with his players. Is this normal? According to the information of these 3 people, there seems to be a player named Yi Yi, who is very powerful . I don't know how much fun it can bring him. A smile gradually appeared on his face, and he couldn't wait to see the enemy begging for mercy. ... Several figures in the air flew quickly. A moment's effort has crossed most of the island of Greed. It finally came down to a lake. Loud. But in fact, apart from stirring up a piece of dust, there was not much noise. The few people who fell from the sky were wearing gas masks sponsored by Yi Yi. Not sure about Hisoka's condition. But it's always good to be prepared. At the moment of landing, everyone looked around. Yi Yi crossed his arms around his chest. I am not interested in these meaningless inquiries. Not to mention the arrival of a few people, he did not discuss with Hisoka in advance. He had no idea that someone would be looking for him today. Secondly, at the moment of landing, Yi Yi sensed the surrounding situation through spiritual pressure perception. Except for Hisoka, no one else exists here. Wow. Bisuki put her hands in front of her eyes, frightened by the surprise in the distance. Just the fingers that block the eyes, the gap is so big, can it really block the line of sight? Hisoka bathing in the lake. Surprisingly, several people came. Especially Xiaoji and Chichimusha are beyond his expectations. Yi looked at Hisoka and noticed something unusual. Physical vitality is completely incomparable to Yukishin. The thoughts on his body at this moment can only be compared to the current Xiaoji and others. Obviously. Surviving under the rose, he also paid a lot of price. I just don't know how he survived from Rose's biological toxins. Woe tilde woe tilde. This is really rare tilde. Long time no see. Don't hesitate to expose yourself to the public. Even unintentionally swinging his body. At the same time, malicious thoughts were directed towards Xiaoji and Kiji Diaoxian. Let the two subconsciously resort to entangling, to resist. Seeing the entanglement on the two of them, Hisoka smiled contentedly. The laughter made his shoulders shrug. However, except for Bisuki, all the people present were men. No one cares about these little details. Only Guo Lianu looked at Hisoka's unscrupulous appearance. Some can't stand it. What the hell is going on with this pervert? Fortunately, Hisoka may have seen Xiaoji and Chi Yansha Hawaii. Uncomfortably happy. Didn't care about Gorino's offense. Although his strength has dropped a lot because of Rose. But the combat power has not been reduced by much. After all, his battles were never overwhelming with mellow thoughts. After a while, Hisoka put on the clothes by the lake. Hey tilde Hisoka, why did you enter the island of greed? Xiaoji can't wait to ask. If it is also for collecting cards, it will conflict with his plan. This was something he didn't want to see. Into the island of greed. For healing, of course. I heard that there is a card called Archangel's Breath, which can heal dying serious injuries and incurable diseases in one breath. I came for it. Unfortunately, the card has not been found yet. Hisoka said, swiping his right hand over himself. Pieces of festering appearance appeared in everyone's eyes. It was completely different from the perfect body just now. Yi's excellent vision was even able to see some pus flowing from the festering wound. Therefore, it is known that Hisoka's thoughts will be reduced so exaggeratedly. The body on the verge of collapse. It was obviously the injury caused by Rose. Pussy body. Bishiji, who had just feasted her eyes, felt her stomach start surging in an instant. At this moment, she extremely hated her own strength. Like Yi, she could clearly see the pus on Hisoka's body. Quote. Xiaoji looked at the wound on Hisoka's body and thought of those rose bombs that destroyed Yukishin. Fortunately, Yi provided a gas mask. He watched Crollo these spiders drop the bombs from the sky. That graceful rose contains terror. He unforgettable to this day. The look at Hisoka changed. There was no initial hostility. Then, why did you come to me? It must not be specifically to ask me questions. Hisoka didn't pay any attention to the gazes of Baisiji and the others. He asked Xiaoji on his own. At the same time as asking, his eyes looked in the direction of Yi. Yi's mind beast has healing abilities, and once brought him back to life from a dying state. If Yi treats him, he didn't have to bother looking for the Archangel's Breath. We need your help. Jay's request. Hisoka was taken aback. Then there was an amiable smile. He naturally agreed to this request. Chapter 223 _ Hisoka joins. It can be said to be very smooth. It is only necessary for Xiaoji and others to provide a card to treat his injury immediately. Or summon Nian Beast from Yi. Heal his body with Elbera's abilities. Surviving from the rose, he paid a small price. Constraints and oaths. Is why he survived. After death, the heart is forced to resume beating. This process keeps repeating. He has died several times, but under the action of the oath, his heart has resumed beating. live in the world in this way. But even so, his body couldn't continue to support it. The pus-filled wound is the proof. Therefore, he needs to heal his body immediately. The requirements are not high. But Xiaoji and the others did not have the aura of an archangel. Therefore, the hope of cooperation is pinned on Yi Yi. Facing the expectations of the crowd, Yi Yi did not refuse. There was no conflict between him and Hisoka. There is no reason to refuse help in healing. Population 14 tilde. Snapped my fingers. Open black lens bracket Nyan Beast Elabella close black lens bracket. A phantom condensed in front of Yi Yi. Phaeton's injuries have long since recovered. When Yi Yi collects cards, he occasionally summons them. Therefore, Elabella is no stranger to the island of greed. Elabella, heal Hisoka. Reached out to Hisoka. It's just whether Elabella can cure rose toxins. Yi Yi didn't hold out hope. Thumb's chain of healing. Healing, instant healing. Although it is said to be an instant cure, what can be treated is more of a wound on the body. What caused Hisoka's body to collapse was the rose virus in his body. Yi Yi was not sure whether he could get rid of the rose virus in his body. Of course, Hisoka didn't know what Yi Yi was thinking. After hearing Yaiki's order, Elabella walked towards Hisoka. Right hand raised, chain of healing with thumb. A chain extended from the ring on the thumb, towards Hisoka. With the input of Reiatsu, the festering wound begins to heal. The pus slowly disappeared. Just a few seconds. All the wounds on Hisoka's body recovered. This also led to a slight recovery of his thoughts in his body. Xiaoji and Qi Daojiao encouraged Huang Jiyu to see such an exaggerated recovery ability for the first time. But still sighed on the side. Bai Siji and Guo Lianu were even more shocked and hard to find. It's not the first time Bisky has seen Elabella. After she was hurt by the evil thoughts of the 12 earthly branches, Yoichi tried to use Elbera's healing ability to heal Bisuki's mental injuries. Pity. The idea didn't come to fruition. Elabella can't heal Bisuki's mental wounds. This made Bishiji subconsciously think that the ability of this beast is actually not excellent. It just looks a little weirder. Weird-looking Nyan beasts have almost become common knowledge in the hunter world. Mind beasts like her Miss Cookie is heresy. But this time, after seeing Elabella's healing power. But he had to apologize for his previous thoughts. Such resilience can simply be called a bug. Everyone was amazed at Elbera's powerful healing ability. Wei Zisuo and Yi Yi. But found an exception. Sure enough, it's not enough to just heal the wounds on the body tilde it's a headache. Feel the life force that your body is losing all the time. Hisoka was a little disappointed. Forget it, if you can restore your body to the current level, you can hold on for a while longer. As a professional hunter, Hisoka can easily find out that rose toxin cannot be cured. Yi Yi was able to restore his body to what it is now. It was beyond his expectations. If rose toxins can be eliminated so easily, Rose lost the meaning of existence. At the same time, he looked at the gas masks on the faces of Yi Yi and the others. You don't have to be on guard against me. Rose's toxin has been completely sealed in the body by my restriction, and there is no chance for it to spread out tilde. Hisoka reminded kindly. Dash 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 dash. Win over to Hisoka. It can be said to be within the plan, or it can be said to be unexpected. It was Xiaoji's plan to win over Hisoka. Everyone is just acting according to the plan at the moment. Surprisingly, I didn't expect Hisoka to agree so easily. However, what surprised him even more was that the quartet of Weizuela took the initiative to find them. After Hisoka joined the team, only a few minutes passed. Juezuela and others passed the pier card. Came to the lake where several people were. I hope everyone can work together to resist the bomb demon. To show sincerity, He shared what happened in the half hour to all the players present. Love love, love city. Nameless bar. What did you say? Yashida, Jazishu and the others have all. Xiaoji couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. Players who were still together half an hour ago. At this moment, the entire army has been wiped out. Saying this is not revenge, no one believes it. That's right, you can check it from your correspondent friends. Those people's names are all grayed out, which means they're dead. Jula looked at Xiaoji in front of him. Although he was talking to Xiaoji about the technique of confirming whether other players are alive. In fact, in his mind, the picture that happened before was still echoing. It's hard to believe that such a small body has such exaggerated strength. As a professional hunter, Jula is not a character who agrees to team up with others casually. Vigilance is the nature of hunters. After finding Xiaoji and the others, they naturally went through some tests. The test results silenced him. 3 children who looked like they were only 13 or 14 years old. The strength has surpassed him. Cannot help but began to feel the tide of the times. On the side, is the strange-looking Sirius. As soon as he got the news, he summoned the collection card book and saw the gray name with his own eyes. Begin to believe everything Juzela said. Trouble, Ganshu and the others have definitely got the information of number 2. Quote. The slight advantage has disappeared. The imminent sense of urgency reminded him of Yukushin's experience. Talk about trouble. Rare excitement rose in his heart. Chapter 224 Island of Greed, Shufu Rabi. A ray of light fell from the sky. A dozen figures emerged from it. In addition to Yi, Xiaoji, Jula and others, there were also 4 players who made up the numbers. Hire them to trigger the quest defeat Leza and the 14 pirates for helping them leave the greedy island. Noon. Leza finished training. In the sound of the prisoners' applause, he walked towards the direction of the lounge. But when he just took a few steps, squinted eyes suddenly opened a slit. Some tricky guys. The movement to leave stopped. Turn around to look at the gate of the sports field. Wow. The door was opened from the outside. A group of people poured into the stadium. It's time to challenge again Tilda. From the look in your eyes when you left, I knew you wouldn't give up easily. Lija's eyes turned to Xiaoji and the others. During yesterday's challenge, Xiaoji's clear eyes reminded him inexplicably of someone. I just didn't expect you to challenge again so soon. While talking, his eyes swept over to Jula's body. Look at the strength of these new challengers. Judging from the breath on his body, he is not weak, even among hunters. His eyes paused slightly when he swept to Hisoka. With the killing intent overflowing from Hisoka, Leza knew who the master who had just made him feel dangerous. His gaze continued to move, past the group of players who were pulling in to make up the count. Finally stopped on Yi's body. Brow wrinkled slightly. He couldn't feel the breath of the night. Just like ordinary people without awakening. Can the body's temperament. The icy temperament that keeps people from thousands of miles away is impossible to ignore. Noticing that Leza's eyes stayed on him, Yi looked away from the surroundings and looked at Leza. Cold eyes. Like a lake without waves. Calm. Leza saw only peace in Yi's eyes. It was as if nothing in this world could attract this man's attention. Mr. Leza, this time we will definitely win, please start the game. Xiaoji's voice suddenly rang in his ears. Interrupted Leza and Yi's gaze. He looked down at the familiar boy in front of him. A smile appeared on Leza's face. No problem, of course, games can be played at any time. It's just that he doesn't seem to have seen him smile. He is squinting, and the corners of his mouth rise when he smiles. It seems to give a sense of disharmony. It was as if he was forcing himself to smile. Leza led everyone towards the direction of the boxing ring. Ask everyone at the same time. The first match is boxing and you decide who will be in charge of this match. When asking, he looked past Xiaoji and the others, and looked in the direction of Hisoka and Wazuela. If you're boxing, leave it to me. Teammates of Juez Jula. A gray-haired man with strong muscles stepped out of the crowd. From the muscles he has developed, it can be seen that he is good at melee attacks. Leisha looked at the gray-haired man. Of course, as long as one of the 15 people comes out at random, there are no restrictions on participating players here. Having said that, those players who came to make up the numbers were absolutely impossible to play. Not to mention his own lack of strength. It will also make Yi lose a chance to win. Their only role is to act as a qualified tool person. Of course, Yi, who knew the original time and space plot, naturally know this so-called winning 8 times, even if the player wins. It's just a way for Leza to collect player data. After the players have won 7 times, Leza will take the shot himself. Advantage of the volleyball game, 8v8. Beat the player in one fell swoop. But what does this have to do with Night 1? There are Xiaoji's team, Hisoka, Wazuela and others. He doesn't need to play in advance, he can get a card just by contributing during the volleyball game. Watching a play quietly is also a suitable practice. Boxing ring. Wazuela's teammate, and yesterday's boxer who could use teleportation. The two had their gloves on and were ready to fight. Jace, Jace, Jace. All the pirates crowded around the ring, shouting Jace's name. Support this boxer named Jess. Hear the cheers from outside. Jace wiped his nose, a confident look on his face. Tilde haha tilde as long as I'm in this ring, I will never lose boxing, just be honest and beat me. He looked at the gray-haired man standing opposite him. Jace's tone was arrogant. The totem on the ring gave him the confidence to win. It's a pity that his opponent didn't pay attention to such low-level trash talk. Leza stood between the two. Take the position of referee. Then the boxing match between Ball and Jace begins now. Both sides signaled that they were ready for the moment. Leza announced the start of the game. The voice falls. His figure moved off the field. The movement was quick, and only Yoichi, Bishiji, Oke, and Hisoka were present to see clearly. Ball instantly launched an attack. The continuous and rapid attacks made Jace tired of the defense. No chance to attack at all. After a few seconds, the defense was completely opened, and continuous attacks hit Jace. Plop. Jace fell weakly to the ground. The first game was an easy victory. A smile appeared on the faces of Xiaoji and the others. Everything is going according to their ideas. Half an hour later, the players' side easily won 7 games. Everyone started cheering. They seemed to have seen the pictures of Leisha and others being driven away. Only at night. Instead of leaning against the corner to watch the play leisurely, he walked towards the crowd. At the same time, Leza begins to announce new rules of the game. Chapter 225 _ The next game. It's an 8-on-8 dodgeball. Leisha picked up a volleyball from the ground with a smile. Random slaps. The time when the players came to challenge happened to be the time when he finished exercising, and various sports equipment could be seen on the ground. Volleyball is naturally among them. Just finished working out. It means that his body muscles have been completely stretched, and there is no need to warm up laboriously. The situation is fine at this time. The thought chi expanded rapidly, wrapping the body inside. In just an instant, the breath was several times stronger than before. At the same time, 8 apertures suddenly appeared on the floor behind Leza. In the unbelievable eyes of most players, 8 beasts of different shapes and appearances appeared. The exaggerated thoughts on the beast. Any single one of them would be stronger than Juez Jula and others. Only Xiaoji's quartet, Yi and Hisoka could be compared at the scene. Gumbling. Difficulty swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Juez Jula felt what it meant to be powerful. Hopeless. Lose this time. Pessimistic thinking, not only absolutely alone. His companions and the players who came to make up the numbers were all overwhelmed by this powerful aura. Startled. But not everyone is afraid of Leza. Ah, damn it. You are so bullying, we are about to win the final victory, yet you summon so many mind beasts at once. Xiaoji murmured. Shang Lija kept complaining. No, that's right, doesn't it say that one person wins? How can it be calculated like this? Xiaoji's complaints pulled Guo Lianu's thinking back from Lija's terrifying strength. Stand out from the crowd and ask questions. However, Leza had already prepared a speech. One person wins one. As long as you beat me, you will get 8 wins. How about it? It's a good deal, right? The smile on his face was a little more sincere than before. He was really happy for the player's performance at the moment. Leza's words. Not only did it not make the players feel at ease, on the contrary, they panicked even more. Especially the few people who came to make up the count. She stepped back in fear. For fear of being selected for the competition. Of course, because of Yi's participation this time, the number of people is enough. These useless wastes are just worrying in vain. What about volleyball, won't you just win? Yi's figure did not know when to cross the crowd. Come to the front of all players. The breath on his body kept rising. The spiritual pressure is released continuously. It is as vast as the endless sea. This terrifying amount of spiritual pressure formed an invisible momentum. Just the surge of the spiritual pressure caused gusts of wind to surround Yi's body. Imposing, terrifying aura manifested in Yi. Even if Yi did not specifically oppress the players. Under this momentum, Weizuela and others could not hold on. With his arms in front of him, his body couldn't stop backing away. Even he did so. Those with ordinary abilities who made up the number were already lying on the ground and breathing hard. Leza's slightly narrowed eyes opened. Looking at Yi, the man who made him curious. The first time they looked at each other, he saw peace in Yi's eyes. It's calm as if you don't care about anything. There is a terrifying aura on his body now, but his eyes still haven't changed. It's like fighting with him. It's just as bland as your daily meals and drinks. His eyes remained calm. Tough. For Yi's evaluation, there are only 2 words that are difficult to deal with. This time, maybe the game can finally be cleared. Looking at Yi's eyes. Leza kept thinking in his mind. Slap tilde. A snap of fingers. The spiritual pressure radiating from Yi's body was all contained in his body. At the same time, 2 apertures appeared on the floor behind him. In the surprised eyes of Xiaoji and others, 2 familiar figures emerged. Alabella and Greenham. Since Leza can use Mind Beast, he can also use it. Of course, if Yi wanted to, he could even summon the Phantom Troop. Can be used as a killer. It's always a good idea to keep a hand. Karapika. No, it's another girl. Looking at the familiar face behind Yi. Xiaoji's expression changed. He remembered. Yi once summoned this beast when Yukishin was treating Hisoka. It's just that he was used to Kurapika's existence and didn't react for a while. Hisoka didn't value this match, it was just a transaction. He helps Xiaoji and others win. Xiaoji helped him find an archangel breath again. To restore his body. But the moment he saw Glingham, his face became flushed. He wrapped his hands around his shoulders. The breath on the body is constantly changing. Number 0, Crollo. Since number 0 can, then Crollo also. A distorted voice came out of his mouth. Even because of being too excited. A trace of blood was left from the shoulder he grabbed. You can see that Grimm's eyes have no dark color. Hisoka's expression slowly returned to normal. It was just an unconcealed disappointment that appeared on his face. You are using Nian Beast, then I will also use Nian Beast as a team member, there is no objection. Yi's icy voice brought Leza back to his senses. Although anthropomorphic beasts are not common, they are not rare. Therefore, he just glanced at the two beasts behind Yi Yi. He looked back. But the game still has to go on. Of course, no problem. Get an answer. Yi Yi looked behind him and chose a character to play. Ju's Jula team ruled out. Their strength is too weak to bear even Yi Yi's Reiatsu. Not to mention fighting together. So it seems that only a few acquaintances of Yi Yi can play. Chi-Chi, 18, Orifice Disease. These 5 people plus Yi Yi and 2 Nian beasts. There were just 8 people. Yi Yi's eyes swept across the 5 people. Got an agreed answer. Chapter 226-0 Thought Beast summoned by Leza walked towards the outside of the arena. Act as a referee. The rules are simple, take the form of 1 person off the field and 7 on the field. The people off the field can substitute for the people on the field, but if all the people on the field are eliminated, the game is over. Infield players, if the opponent throws the ball, they are out. Quote. The rules have been said for a long time. Xiaoji has been confused by the rules. It's actually 2 o'clock. In the face of the volleyball thrown by the enemy, choose to catch it, or choose to avoid it. But as an ability person of the enhancement department, the least thing he is good at is moving, brain thinking. In other words, too long explanations always make him unable to react. Fortunately, Xiaoji was able to respond to Yi Yi's prompt. Game start. Chi Krypton UC Brown Fierce is in charge of kickoff with Leiza's Nian Beast. Leiza was surrounded by many Nian beasts. Looking at the Chi Na breath. Although it is far inferior to the little devil who used the beast, the breath on his body is absolutely unmatched at this age. Unfortunately, if potential can't be converted into strength immediately, it's useless to say anything. Countdown 3 seconds. The volleyball is thrown into the air. Qianzhao Zhaoju hit the volleyball in the direction of Bai Siji. Compared to Yi Yi, Hisoka and Xiaoji. At this moment, Qi Yao's title is stronger than Ciji's. It is most suitable for her to launch the attack. Lija watched all this with a smile on his face. Let you attack first. He didn't care if Bisuki would threaten him at all. Bisuki looked at the volleyball flying towards her. Reach out to catch it firmly. Next moment. The volleyball was thrown in the direction of the distant beast. When Qi Shuan was in the air, Bisuki began to observe the surrounding situation. I took all the locations where Lija Nian beasts were distributed in my heart. Slap. After the volleyball Bishiji threw hit number 3, he threw it towards number 4 with all his strength. Pat. The 2 beasts fell to the ground at the same time. This move directly eliminated Lija's 2 Nian beasts. Xiaoji and Jixi instantly had smiles on their faces. Constantly cheering. The 2 Nian beasts were eliminated so easily, which was a good start. Off the field. Weizi Ju pulls the team, watching the volleyball that Bisji threw. Sweat dripped from his forehead. He didn't know where so many monsters appeared all at once. 4. No, is 5. 5 little devils of similar age are already several times or even dozens of times stronger than him. The terrifying strength gap made it difficult for him to accept. But everything that happened in front of him was telling him that it was the truth. Finally. Helplessly sighed. Ju's Jula had to admit that he was getting old. On the field. Looking at Bishiji who easily eliminated the 2 beasts. Leiza's face became serious. The aura is no different from those of ordinary players. If it wasn't for a lot of thoughts attached to the attack, I would not have discovered her hidden strength. At the moment of the attack, Nianqi condensed in his hand. While it brings great power, it also controls the direction of the volleyball flight with its rich combat experience. The use of Juhijian is not under me. Leiza himself is a prisoner with rich combat experience and powerful strength. Only through one shot of Bai Siji, she analyzed her strength. As the game that has been flat for 10 years finally ushered in a climax. Kim, is this what you expected? Think of the man who brought him here. A smile appeared on Leiza's face. Let the ball end, it's time for a good game. Refocus your attention on the game. But he didn't know that on the player side, Bishiji's strength was only ranked 3rd. The other side. After Bisuki knocked out 2 Nyan beasts in one ball, the volleyball was caught by Glingham and threw back to Bisky. Bishiji, who was holding the volleyball, happened to hear what Leiza said. Let the ball. Are you underestimating me? The preparation to shoot the ball came to an abrupt end. His eyes turned to Leiza. That fake smile made by Siji particularly unhappy. Flowers. In that case, let's have a good taste of my volleyball. If there were only 2 people, Leiza would say this. Bisky might not care. But with the 4 disciples and grandchildren by her side, she was looked down upon so easily. Is it too disrespectful to her? Mindfulness entangles around the body. In the end, it flowed towards her hand. The volleyball is thrown into the air. Bishiji jumped up. Boom. A terrifying roar suddenly sounded. The volleyball seemed to be hit hard. Quickly smashed towards Leiza. This ball contains 80% of the strength of Bishiji. She believed that only Yi could take the ball. The volleyball is glowing pink. That's the thought that Bishiji covered on it. Called, Jo, that uses mind energy to cover objects. Formed to strengthen several times the original power. However, attack. Although your strength is really good, you can even compare to my level 10 years ago. Leisha looked at the volleyball flying towards him. The body is slightly squatted forward. The fingers of both hands are overlapped up and down, the bases of the palms are close together, and the palms are clasped together. Standard catching technique is used. But in the 10 years I have been on the island of greed, I have never stopped tempering myself. The violent volleyball was accurately caught by Leiza. Arm muscles flared. Since you attacked me, you must be ready for me to fight back. At the moment Bisuki fell from the sky. A return attack was launched. Squeeze both hands and wrists. Like a cannonball, the volleyball flew in Bisuki's direction. This time's counterattack was not just the thought that Bishiji had attached to the volleyball. Leisha used a technique that was even better than CG. Cover the volleyball with your own thoughts. Formed the role of power blessing. She looked at Bisuki who fell in the air and couldn't dodge. A smile appeared on Leiza's face. Then, let me see your strength. Chapter 227 Accident. The result was beyond Bishiji's surprise. The volleyball, which used 80% of its strength, was picked up so easily. It made her face full of shock. The volleyball that can be blazed will not give her time to continue to be shocked. It seems to span the distance between time and space. By Siji, she had only just begun to fall from the air. Volleyball has already come to her. His arms subconsciously stood in front of him. Thoughts flowed rapidly throughout the body. Hard. Years of experience have made her body respond on its own. Although not sure if it can survive under this ball. But the best effort has been made. Misunderstanding. This one is called Leisha, and his strength is at least in the middle of the 12 earthly branches. Stimulated by adrenaline. The scene before me in 247 seems to have slowed down dozens of times. Bisuki even thought about her own mistakes in her mind. On the sports field. Xiaoji and Kiju 18 orifices instantly enlarged the heat delivery hole. It seemed that he had already seen the picture of the volleyball hitting Bisuki. Mouth wide open. Want to shout something. Pong. The volleyball hit Leisha instantly. A quicker, more powerful blow than before. Eyes widened. Subconsciously dodge aside. The volleyball pierced the number 6 Nyan beast. Boom tilde. A pothole instantly appeared on the floor of the sports field. Just, what happened? Xiaoji looked at Elabella and Bisuki who were slowly falling from the sky. Haven't figured out what happened yet. In his sight, it was obvious that Bishiji was about to be hit by a volleyball. The next moment, the volleyball flew towards Leisha. Extraordinary gizzard tibia. He watched the two of them fall from the sky with a confused expression. The scene was silent for a while. A second later. It's night 1 tilde. Hisoka's voice sounded beside the three. He did not know when to get close to Xiaoji and the others. His mind beast appeared in front of Bishiji at a speed that was indistinguishable to the naked eye the moment before she was hit, and launched a counterattack. While explaining to Xiaoji and others, he looked for Yi Yi's figure on the sports field. If it wasn't for Elbera's appearance, he would have even forgotten that Yi Yi also participated in the game. Pity. Looking around, I found no trace of Yi Yi. It's as if it didn't come here at all. Is it hidden? Like Xiao Yi, it's really boring. Fall from the sky. At the Ninman Elbera in front of her. His face became weird. She didn't expect that Elabella, who was considered to be a medical mind beast in front of her, was even stronger than her. The moment when the energy leaks out during the counterattack. Let her feel what a real monster is. Leiza's voice sounded from a distance. Interrupted Bisuki's thinking. Since you lost the ball. Then, it's my turn to attack this time. Leiza took the volleyball out of the pothole on the ground. Pat on the ground a few times to see if it can still be used. Looking at Elabella. The attack just now was enough to show her strength. Leiza opened his eyes slightly. It's a pity that the game he made, strength can't decide everything. It is not impossible to use the rules to defeat this mind beast. Elabella's counterattack was beyond Lingham's tolerance. Did not rush to catch the ball. Otherwise, I am afraid that the ball will not be picked up, and I will be eliminated by my own people. Hum tilde tilde. There was a sound in the air. Purple-black thoughts erupted from Leiza. A terrifying air wave formed on him. Such a powerful thought. It was the first time Xiaoji and the others met. Even in Bishiji's body, there has never been such a powerful thought. Only then did I understand that Leisha had not used all his strength in the previous attack. Wazy Wela off the field was completely sluggish. He began to be grateful for his lack of strength. Not even qualified to take the stage. Strength. It's not on the same level at all. Xiaoji and Kiju 18 Chao stepped on people to get together. Use the entanglement together to resist the thoughts on Leiza's body. Even after going through the special training of Bai Siji, they can't resist Leisha's thoughts alone. Hidden Night. His brows furrowed slightly. It turns out that Leisha of time and space is not so exaggerated in strength. The strength is indeed strong, but it is not that Xiaoji and others can't resist even his thoughts. Has my appearance affected the development of the world? When thinking at night, Leiza has launched an attack. Just like Bisuki's previous actions. The volleyball is thrown into the air. He himself jumped up. The right hand forcefully sent towards the volleyball. Pong. Volleyball is like a cannonball. At a speed unrecognizable to the naked eye. Throw it in the direction of Elabella. Leisha, who had not yet fallen in the air, looked at the players' positions with a smile on his face. So, how do you get the ball? This particular ball. The spinning volleyball. It's not as simple as it seems. Yi Yi saw everything in his eyes, but had no plans to stop it. He wanted to see how far Leiza's strength had increased. Pong tilde tilde. The volleyball brushed past Elabella. But she turned and smashed towards Bishiji who was behind her. Although Bishiji reacted immediately, she dodged to the side. But the same thing happens in the original time and space. The tutu skirt she was wearing increased the area where she was attacked. The one that hides from the side for a moment, the volleyball passed through her tutu. Kalisha's attack seems to be more than that simple. Ah! A scream of pain suddenly came from behind Bisuki. Xiaoji and Kijuo stepped on people. Falling to the ground now. All three were injured to varying degrees. But without exception, the three were eliminated at the same time. A spinning volleyball was embedded in the floor between the three of them. Leiza's attack was too fast. although the three of them spread around the moment he attacked. However, the idea attached to the volleyball is not only enhanced aggression, but its speed has also been greatly enhanced. The three had no time to escape. Killed out. Xiaoji, Kiju 18, Chao Disease 1. Renjiang 4 eliminated. Chapter 228 _ The advantage on the field was under an attack from Leza. An instant reversal occurred. The moment before. The number of people on Yi's side has a huge advantage. An attack by Kelija changed the situation. The four were instantly eliminated. 3 of them were seriously injured. There is obviously no possibility of a return. The player's side. Only Yi, Hisoka, Elabella and Greenham, who was in charge of the ball, were left. Among them, Glingham's strength is the weakest, and can only be compared with Jixi and others. Basically not a fighting force. Leza exited the stage with 3 beasts. There, plus himself, there are 5 personnel. It can be said that at this moment he has occupied a huge advantage. Of course, sometimes the number of people does not determine everything, especially when the gap between individual strengths is too large. Pat tilde. The sound of a volleyball being cut from the floor sounded. This voice turned everyone's attention away from Xiaoji and the others. 14-foot volleyball embedded in the floor was picked up by Yaiki, who appeared at an unknown time. Leza looked at Yi, who suddenly appeared. Cold sweat came out of his forehead. Obviously, the volleyball game requires 8 people to participate, but before, there were only 7 players on the field. This 8th person seems to have mysteriously disappeared. This made him completely forget the existence of Yi. It was not until Yi took the initiative to appear that he recalled that there was such a number 1 person. What the hell is going on with this kid? How to restrain the breath, even I completely ignore it. Absolutely. Do not. Impossible, even absolute, cannot escape my perception. Leza looked around at the surrounding environment. Suddenly. Look in the direction to your left. Referee number 0 is a beast. There is a shadow behind him. Eyes widened. ... Leisha found the place where Yi hid earlier. But he was not happy. Completely fuse yourself with that shadow, and then suppress the breath to the extent that I can't even perceive it. This kid is extremely good at assassination, or one-hit one-kill combat. Is it a killer, or a profession like an assassin? Leza can be favored by Jin, and because of this he serves as the administrator of the Island of Greed. It has been shown that he surpasses most of the capable people in the world. Just from the way Yi hides, he can guess Yi's occupation. Killer, assassin. Most of them pay attention to one-hit kills. Hide in the darkness, observe the movements of the enemy, wait for the moment when the enemy slackens or leaks, and attack suddenly. Only a very small number of killers believe in unparalleled tactics. It would be a perfect assassination to eliminate all the witnesses who saw the real face. Brackets laugh. You eliminated 4 of our teammates in one fell swoop. If you don't give a good response, it seems unreasonable. Yi turned his gaze to Leza. The thoughts on the body are already stronger than Yin, Kansai, and it is almost the same as Chenlong, Porter Bai's strength. Sure enough, the strength of the 12 earthly branches can only be regarded as a first-class ability in this world at most. There is still a long way to go before it is truly super first. Take back your mind. Look at Hisoka beside him. If you want to get rid of Leisha's Nian Beast all at once, Hisoka's ability is indispensable. I see. Hisoka looked at him at night, and then thought of what he said in return. Then I understood the idea of the night. The love that stretches freely can ensure that after the volleyball hits the opponent's beast, it will return to its own hands. Go to the night side. Reach out and touch the volleyball. A streak of pink gum-like substance covers the volleyball. The enchantment is complete. Yi looked towards the opposite side, looking for prey. Throw the volleyball into the air. Just like the way Bishiji and Leisha attacked before. Smash, sure enough he would choose to use such a super offensive approach. He looked at Yoichi who jumped into the air together. Leisha had already guessed Yi Yi's attack method. Pop tilde tilde. Yi Yi's attack had no fancy operations. Just condensed the spiritual pressure in his hand and slapped it away. But if this action is accelerated to the point where no one notices it, the horror will appear. Like lightning bolts. Just an orange phantom streaking through the air. Volleyball was before everyone could react. Slap tilde. Volleyball with Yaichi Reiatsu. Hit the beast next to Leiza. The beast exploded instantly. Turned into pieces of light and dissipated out of thin air. At the same time, the volleyball, which should have fallen to the ground, was pulled back by Hisoka's flexible love. Knockout. No, Zero Nyan Beast mercilessly called his companion off the field. Baisiji looked at Hisoka with surprise in his eyes. I didn't expect Hisoka's ability to be so useful. After the attack, the ability to pull the volleyball back. This ensures that they can always have the ball. Looking at just one goal. Then he smashed his own mind beasts. There was also a hint of surprise on Leiza's face. Yi Yi's strength made him a little elusive. The embodiment of the mind beast, as well as its own powerful strength. Interesting, this guy's abilities aren't bad either. It's been nearly 10 years of boring time, but unexpected performance broke out in the final episode. A smile appeared on Leiza's face. The plan was successful. Repeat the previous operation every night. He is responsible for eliminating the enemy Nyan Beast, and Hisoka is responsible for pulling the volleyball back. Do this. Leiza one side, and soon only he was left, and the last thought beast off the field. Yet he didn't care about it at all. Pat tilde pat tilde. Yi Yi casually slapped volleyball. It can be said. As long as you succeed once, you can easily win. He glanced in Hisoka's direction. After finishing Nyan Beast, he seems to be useless. Now Nyan is only similar to Xiaoji and others. Not to mention that it is not useful, maybe it will be used by Leiza. So. Shoot the ball, throw it into the air, jump, smash. A set of moves is very smooth. Slap tilde. Was caught. The volleyball that Yi Yi slapped out this time was caught by Leiza. Just reach out with one hand and hold it in your hand. Good power. Holding the volleyball with one hand, Leiza smiled. Chapter 229 _ Unfortunately, it's not as good as me. Fight back. At the moment when the voice fell, Leiza's counterattack began. Without any preparations, he threw the volleyball directly to Hisoka. The flexibility of his body makes it unnecessary for him to charge. You can quickly increase the power of volleyball. The moment he threw the volleyball, Nyan was attached to the volleyball. Expand the power to the maximum. The volleyball is thrown very fast. Hisoka to disconnect, retractable love. The volleyball hit him. The characteristic of connecting with Hisoka himself through elastic love. The volleyball hits Hisoka with precision. Also at this moment. In order to defend against Leiza's attack, Hisoka transferred all his thoughts to his arms. The exaggerated power attached to the volleyball made Hisoka's figure unstoppably retreat. He could only keep his feet on the ground, trying to slow down the retreating force. But even so, Hisoka's figure continued to recede. Accompanied by the sound of chi-chi tilde tilde. Two traces several meters long were left on the ground. It was the mark left by the friction between Hisoka's shoes and the ground. Quite a while. Hisoka's repulsed figure slowly stopped. The volleyball, which had lost its strength, also fell from the arms that Hisoka held in front of him. Only a dark mark was left. Lower your arms. Hisoka's eyes turned to Yaiki. With his intuition, if it wasn't for Yi Yi's intentional reduction in strength, it is impossible for Leiza to catch the volleyball with one hand so easily. It is even more impossible to directly attack him in the next counterattack. If his reaction is a millisecond slower. The flow of thoughts did not converge on the arms in time. I am afraid that I will be killed directly by volleyball. He looked at Yi Yi with cold eyes. Asked silently. Unfortunately, Yi Yi ignored his plans. Knockout. Hisoka player is eliminated. Referee number 0 reads the beast. Whistle on the side of the field. Forcibly send Siso off the field. Smack tilde smack tilde. Pick up the volleyball and tap it twice on the ground. Yi Yi set his eyes on Leiza. All irrelevant people leave the venue. Next is the game between two people. You said that my strength is not as good as yours, then let you see what real strength is. Invisible coercion. Spread over the entire playing field. Spiritual pressure condenses on the body. Exaggerated reiatsu. It is as vast as the sea. The surge of spiritual pressure caused gusts of wind. An inexplicable fluctuation was uploaded from the night. Attracted the attention of everyone present. This kind of momentum is the same as when the 12 earthly branches were meeting. Feel the familiar scene in front of you. Bishiji recalled the memory of a few months ago. The original 12 earthly branches. It was under this inexplicable oppression that they all fell to the ground. It's just that compared to the original 12 earthly branches, Leiza's strength is obviously several times stronger. Although oppressed by Reiatsu, but still stood firm in the distance. There was no change in his face. It seems that this comes from the oppression of the soul and has no effect on him at all. Weiziela leaning on the edge of the sports field, and his players' eyes have turned white. He simply couldn't bear such terrifying oppression. Fortunately, the pressure came quickly. It was also recovered very quickly. Reiatsu that spreads throughout the stadium. They rushed towards the volleyball in Yi Yi's hands. Compressed, kept compressing. The orange and black volleyball began to emit a dazzling light. Just like a shining gem. Looking at Leisha, who started to prepare for a counterattack in the distance. Let's try it with 30% of the power first and see if you can resist it. There was a smile on the corner of his mouth. Throw the volleyball into the air at will. Smash. The most aggressive serve in volleyball. The volleyball thrown into the air quickly reached the highest point of the sports field. The upward trend is slowly disappearing. Under the factor of gravity, it began to fall towards the ground. However, when the volleyball just fell, a figure suddenly appeared. Boom tilde tilde. The floor of the sports field shattered in an instant. The spider web-like cracks quickly spread. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the figure that suddenly appeared in the air. The volleyball that contained Yaiki Reiki slowly rolled in the air. This moment. Time became unusually slow. Goo. The sound of drooling came one after another. They couldn't believe how powerful a volleyball with such terrifying power would be. Under the watchful eyes of the people, Yi Yi slowly raised his right hand high. Reiatsu moves quickly with the technique of flow. Change the specific gravity of the body parts covered by Reiatsu. Leiza below suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart. This feeling is very strong. So strong that he couldn't ignore it. Without hesitation. Squat down with your legs and lean forward slightly. The fingers of both hands are overlapped up and down, the bases of the palms are close together, and the palms are clasped together. He had a hunch that if he didn't handle the ball well, he would definitely be seriously injured. Next moment. At a speed that everyone present could not see clearly. Yi Yi waved his arms down. Pong. The volleyball disappeared out of thin air. Do not. It should be said that the speed of the volleyball has exceeded the limit that the human eye can observe. Its movement can only be sensed with mindfulness. However, in Leiza's eyes, a blast of air spread out in the air. A circular ring of water vapor spreads behind Yi Yi. He clearly watched the orange and black volleyball spinning at high speed in the air. Did Zhao fly towards him? Boom, boom, boom. A burst of air appeared in midair. When the volleyball appeared again, it was already in front of him. Align your hands with the volleyball. Cushion. Successfully receive the volleyball played by Yi Yi. At the same time, Using the ability of flow, the thoughts on both fists quickly converge towards the waist, legs, and feet. Avoid collapsing to the floor. Lean back with both hands and the entire body. Try to unload the power of this ball. Next moment. Lija's figure flipped and flew out. He smashed straight at the wall of the sports field. With the help of the wall, he stopped flying. Boom tilde boom tilde boom tilde boom tilde. A terrifying roar came to the ears of the players present. Looking at Lija, who was smashed into the wall, all the players fell silent. Chapter 230 Off the court. Violation. Leza player eliminated. Nyanbeast number 0 has no scruples about Lija's identity, sentencing him to be eliminated. Smoke is everywhere. Completely cover everyone's sight. Quite a while back. Leza walked out of the smoke. Compared to his previous image, he was a little miserable at this time. There are only a few pieces of cloth hanging from the white shirt on the upper body. Hands are covered with scars. Judging from the appearance of being full of burns, in order to be able to take the ball from Yi, he paid a lot of money. Outside the sports field, everyone watching the game was stunned. Since the start of the game, Leza was injured for the first time. And this ball made Leza use up the only back. This made them subconsciously cheer. Great, now he won't get a chance to play again. Our odds of winning have increased again. Kai-he clutched her arms that were hunched in front of her. He happily shouted to Xiaoji and the others beside him. In his opinion, the next game Yi must be able to win. Yeah, it looks like it's a win this time. Chu Tuo Yin Shu Silk Vinegar Cowardly Intersection Department of Shepherd's Dumpling Shoe. Seriousness in his eyes. The ball that Yi just hit, they couldn't see clearly. Even after Leza was knocked out. The two people reacted, and Yi had already launched an attack. Hands clenched tightly. The two thought that they had gone through the special training of Bai Siji and had caught up with Yi. Can see the scene today. But let the two know how naive their previous thoughts were. 30%, Yi just said that he used 30% of his power, odd. Watching Yuichi falling from the sky. Xiaoji asked Shishuan beside him. Quote. Chiprian. But Xiaoji already knew the answer. Silence. The game is obviously not over yet, but Xiaoji's mind is no longer on this game. Playground. Night fell from the sky. Looking at Leza's beggar outfit. The expression did not change in any way. Lija's strength can at least rank in the upper reaches of the 12 earthly branches. It would be too disappointing if 1 or 3% of the power could not be received overnight. Crunch tilde crunch tilde. Leza walked out of the ruins. Moving on the sports field, making a crunching sound. Lija players use back to return to the infield. The number 0 Nyanbeast referee announced that Leza would be back on the court. Back on the field. Leza's eyes were full of seriousness. Yi's strength, he has not yet judged. What is certain is that Yi's strength far exceeds his own. Your name is Yi. A smile appeared on Leza's face. Didn't wait for the knight to respond. He continued talking to himself. It's been 10 years since I came to this place. It's so boring. I'm patrolling and exercising every day, but I've never met an equal opponent. Looking up at Yi. I've been looking forward to it, expecting an interesting character to appear. But when a player who can beat me really appears, I hesitate in my heart. If I lose, what are my 10 years of perseverance? The smile on his face was a little reluctant. It can be seen that he is smiling bitterly at this time. After waiting for 10 years, I hope to meet an opponent of comparable strength and fight heartily. What he encountered was a monster that completely crushed him. Made him smile bitterly. So for the next attack, I will use all my strength. The hands holding the volleyball trembled a little. The ball that Yi hit, although only used 30% of the power. But he can even use the technique of unloading force. But he still couldn't remove all the power attached to the volleyball. The injuries on his hands at the time were proof that he had not removed all his strength. A game master's full strength. That's really exciting. The trembling of Lijia's hands was not obvious. But with Yi's strength, it's not like he can't even see this. Thinking of his attack just now, he knew the reason why he used all his strength. Even if he wanted to consume it slowly, his hands would not allow it. I just didn't notice it at night. When he said Leiza's administrator identity. Kiji and Renjiang have changed. What did they hear? Game Master. He glanced at Leiza. Isn't it an NPC in the game? Doubt popped up in everyone's mind. Leiza leaned over to pick up the volleyball. The next moment he returned to normal and picked up the volleyball on the ground. Looking at Yi's eyes, he was a little surprised. My identity has been guessed. It's really a headache. When Jin and the others find out, they might laugh at me. It's just that he said he had a headache. But the smile on his face did not diminish. Although Lija did not respond positively, his answer undoubtedly confirmed Yi's statement. This made Xiaoji and the others who were fighting outside the field instantly stunned. Is the game manager a real person? Then this game. Xiaoji looked at Bishiji beside him. Hope she can help explain the current situation. Pity. Bishiji also just found out about this. The expressions of several people were full of doubts. This attracted Hisoka on the side. That's right. Leiza is the game manager, and the Island of Greed takes place on an island in the real world. As long as players with a little strength can find this. Hisoka's eyes were full of amusement. You guys won't be playing for so long without finding out. This kind of playful gaze made by Siji even more embarrassed. Cough. The game on the field continues. Watch the game. Bishiji subconsciously changed the subject. Look in the direction of the sports field. After waiting here for 10 years, I finally met an opponent like you. So I'm definitely not going to keep it. Clap tilde clap tilde clap tilde. The volleyball was constantly flapping in Leiza's hands. Fall together. Attract everyone's attention. I hope you can catch my ball. The action of hitting the ball came to an abrupt end. Leiza's momentum has changed. Chapter 231 hum tilde. A brief charge. Lijia's thoughts swelled rapidly. Next moment. When the volleyball is thrown into the air, it emits a dazzling light. Purple and black thoughts wrap the volleyball, rotating constantly in the air. At the same time, Leiza jumped. The body stagnated in the air. Hands clasped together only. Of him, he smashed it down with all his energy. Boom tilde tilde tilde. The roar produced by the slap is like a rolling thunder explosion. Xiaoji and the others were subconsciously worried. Yi has always been an invincible image in their hearts. But they have never seen the real display of strength. You can only guess the strength of Yi through the attack just now. Subconsciously hold your breath. For fear of disturbing the game. Volleyball hits with great momentum. Let the knight live a little interest. I don't know if he can take the ball directly with his current body. Extend your hands. He actually gave up the idea of using Nien and Reiatsu defense. The body leans forward slightly. Aim at the volleyball that hits you in the air. However, Yi didn't know that his action made everyone outside the stadium widen their eyes instantly. Bastard! What are you doing? Use your mind. Use your mind. Looking at Yi's body without covering thoughts, he wanted to catch the ball. Bisuki guessed what he was thinking. Anxious, Baisiji is very anxious at the moment. She didn't know why Yi had the idea of using her body to force Leiza to attack. But the current situation is very critical. The volleyball played by Leiza. The thoughts covered above exude a terrifying aura. If you just resist with your flesh and blood. Death is the only ending. No game at all at the moment. The body subconsciously galloped away in the direction of Yi. Try to help block Leiza's attack. But the speed of volleyball is not comparable to her. On the side, Xiaoji and Qi Zuchao stepped on people and watched the figure of Bishiji running away. Looking at the state of the knight on the field at this time. That's what happened. Will die, absolutely die. Knight 1. Get out of here. Such an attack cannot be blocked by the body at all. Many thoughts flashed through my mind. But it finally turned into worried eyes, and looked towards Yi Yi. In the sports field. Looking at the gradually clear volleyball in front of him, and the terrifying power contained in it. Yi Yi smiled slightly. Can resist. You know, his current body is made of Bengyu. If you can't even take such an attack. It seems a little unreasonable. The incoming volleyball was spinning at high speed. In the eyes of everyone's despair, fear, surprise and calm. Caught with precision. Z tilde Z tilde Z tilde. The volleyball was spinning at high speed in Yoichi's hands. Rubbing against the palm of the hand makes a continuous sound. A wisp of smoke and dust continued to emerge from Yi Yi's hands. At the same time, his body kept retreating under the power of this ball. Press your feet down hard. Click. There were 2 potholes in the floor. Yi Yi's feet have been inserted into these 2 holes. The speed of going back started to slow down. Finally stopped completely. From the white line outside the field, there are still the last few millimeters of distance. The harsh friction sound did not know when to stop. The high-speed spinning volleyball is now lying quietly in Yi Yi's hands. This moment. Everyone was stunned. Suddenly, a shocked voice broke the calm. How is it possible? Such a terrifying volleyball, to be able to pick up such a terrifying volleyball with only the body, this is definitely an illusion. Yes, it's an illusion. Everyone turned to look. It was Juez Jula, who was in a coma under the oppression of Yi Yiling. He didn't know when he regained consciousness. Just happened to see the scene of Yi Yi playing volleyball with his bare hands. His eyes were full of disbelief. He seemed to suspect that he was still in a coma. Really? Everyone turned their attention back to Yi Yi. Especially the volleyball that he was holding firmly in his hands. Yi Yi's body is only 16 years old. It hasn't fully grown yet. The body is not strong. Especially after becoming a killer, daily exercise keeps him in shape without excess fat. But it is this body that does not seem to be strong. Easily caught Lei Za's attack. Lei's eyes opened completely. Watching Yaiki catch his attack with just his body. Flowers. The expression on his face kept changing, as if he wanted to say something. However, when facing Yi Yi's calm face, he couldn't say a word. Clap tilde. Yi Yi moved his hands. Lei's volleyball is not as easy to access as he imagined. High-speed spin when catching a volleyball. Although no injuries were caused, the rubbing of his hands started to heat up. Slapping volleyball. The feel is getting stronger. Throw the volleyball into the air. Repeat the previous attack, spike. It's just that the strength used this time is far from comparable to the last time. 50%. Yaiki used 50% of his power. The sports field began to vibrate. Wind blades appeared out of thin air, circling on both sides of Yi Yi. Invisible fluctuations spread from under his feet to the surroundings. There was a sound in the air. The green light beam of ability erupted from the body. Terrible air waves rushed to the outside of the sports field. The volleyball is thrown into the air. At this moment, everyone's eyes are on the volleyball. The green energy enveloped the volleyball and shot towards Leiza like a beam of light. Behind this beam, there is an afterimage that is reluctant to part. As if chasing the volleyball ahead. Xiaoji and the others did not face the volleyball head-on. But I have already felt what is called real terror. As for Leiza, recalling the terrifying speed of Yoichi's attack, couldn't help but smile. Accumulate. Leiza's breath swelled again. In just 1 second, a mind that was several times more than before was condensed. Hard. The body is slightly bent, and the movement of the ball is ready. He knew that only by dissolving the power attached to volleyball would he be able to survive. That's right. Live. He knew that he would lose, and only the idea of surviving was left in his heart. The volleyball keeps spinning in the air. Attract everyone's attention. At some point, Yike's figure came to the back of the volleyball. Right hand into palm. 50% of the strength is gathered in the hand. Look down at Leisha, who has prepared a protective posture in advance. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Attack. Do not. The volleyball in front of him had already hit Leisha. Son. Chapter 232 _ The sudden disappearance of volleyball. Bisji and the others have already prepared in their hearts. But when I saw this scene again, I couldn't help but sigh at Yi's strength. The volleyball hit Lei Zhao quickly. Like a shooting star. The hands subconsciously moved towards the front of the body. Pity. The volleyball went much faster than he had predicted. Boom _. Like a missile exploding. A huge pothole replaced Lei's original position. Look at this pothole. Everyone was silent. If such an attack hits a person, there must be no possibility of survival. Lei's ending seems to have been determined. Only Yi turned his gaze to the center of the pothole. In the dust produced by the pothole, a figure is looming. Quite a while. The sound of climbing sounded. Everyone had an unexpected expression. Look in the direction of the pothole. A strong figure slowly climbed out of the pothole. 10 seconds later, Leisha appeared in front of everyone. It's just that compared to his original state, he was extremely miserable at this time. An arm disappeared out of thin air. The abdomen has a circular cavity that runs through the body. It's like being passed right through. I lose. Climb out of the pothole. It seems that Leisha just wanted to say this. Looking at Yi's eyes, full of regret. He promised someone's agreement, but it was not fulfilled. ... Leisha used GM authority to heal his body. He took the pirates and left the port. One ping of coastline is easily accessible. Only this time, everyone asked Yi to keep the original card. Get a card. The temporary team also announced its disbandment. The crowd is ready to leave. But a letter changed everyone's itinerary. Ding dong. His eyes looked in the direction of Jue's Jula. There are other players currently using spell cards against you. In the mail. A hint of doubt appeared on Juzi Jula's face. Stopped. Only Yi discovered 3 figures through spiritual pressure perception. Raised a sneer. Game over, bomber. The figure disappeared under the shadow of the night. On a rock face not far from the coastline. There are 3 figures. In front of Ganshu, a collection card book is suspended. Long time no see tilde. Ganshu's voice was full of fun. Look at several players gathered together in the telescope. First of all, I should say congratulations to you all. Congratulations on getting the second card, the coastline of Yiping. He didn't notice at all, there was a figure behind him. You hand over a ping of coastline, and I'll let you go, how about it? This deal is a good deal. Ha 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 ha. Ganshu's laughter was very low. Call ended. I think it's better for that kid to deal with it. Maybe he also has a card with a coastline of 1 ping. Ganshu's companion expressed his thoughts. However, how could Ganshu possibly skip this point? He's just doing it for the longer term. Compared to a child, I still think it's more secure to deal with Weisleila before he recovers his strength. Also, even if that kid has a card, it's just a replica. Replicas are better than genuine ones. He turned to look at his 2 companions. Ganshu stretched out his index finger and gently pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose. He had already planned everything. Next, just follow this plan and clear the island of greed is only a matter of time. However, you're right, the 1 ping of coastline that Xiaoji and the others have in their hands is just a replica. A cold voice sounded behind the 3. The 3 reacted instantly. Raising his right hand, he wanted to call out the spell of the summoning card book. But they haven't had time to open their mouths yet. Reiki pressed towards the three of them. The faces of the three unsuspecting people instantly turned pale. Puff. Together they vomited blood. They struggled to resist, but their bodies fell to the ground uncontrollably. More and more blood flowed from the mouth, eyes, nose, ears. Consciousness began to blur. The real coastline of Wonping is actually in my hands. The cards in Weijuela and Xiaoji's hands were just copied from me. Look at the three people lying on the ground. Yi kindly explained to them. Pity. Under the oppression of Reiatsu, even living is a luxury. I didn't hear what Yi was saying at all. 10 minutes later. The number of designated cards for Yi reached 99. A notification sounded across the entire greedy island. Here, inform all players in the game. A player has collected all 99 cards in the designated pocket. To commemorate this special event, there will be a quiz contest for all players in 10 minutes. There are 100 questions, all of them related to the designated card. 1 point for each question. The highest scorer will get the card number 000, the blessing of the ruler. This moment. The players in the entire island of greed are boiling. After 10 years of playing the game, someone finally cleared the game. Also thinking about how to deal with the crowd near the coastline. Instantly stunned. Unexpectedly, the countermeasures have not been discussed, and there are already people with all the cards. B00K. Xiaoji hurriedly summoned his card collection to see who had collected all the cards. Yi. Looking at the person who collected the most cards, it turned out to be Yi. This made his voice full of disbelief. He hurriedly searched around for Yi's figure. But he looked around, but couldn't find the familiar figure. Che, I'm really unwilling to be one step ahead of him this time. The ash part of the chassis stuffs blew the number of cards that had been broken. There was dissatisfaction in his voice. Obviously they just need to work hard to collect all the cards. But at the last step, Yi completed the card collection first. Jezjula didn't know what to say. Everything seems to be a dream. Chapter 233_. Yi sat on Gonshu's body. Waiting for the contest to start. Su tilde. In the jungle on the side, there was a tremor. Hisoka then walked out. Woe tilde. I didn't expect you to collect all the cards after only a few minutes of leaving. It's really surprising tilde. At the same time as the conversation, his eyes turned downward. His goal is the breath of the Archangel. The three bombers monopolized a large number of designated cards. Among them was the Archangel's breathing, which caused his injury to drag on. Now the three bombers are under Yi's ass. Want to get cards at your fingertips. Just 3 rookies. Yi stopped looking through the 3 cards. He looked at Hisoka. If you want the breath of an Archangel, just get it yourself. Help Hisoka gain the Archangel's breath, or heal Hiso by Elbera. This was the condition that had been promised to Hisoka before. Although the rating team has been lifted, Yi, as a killer, is naturally honest. Of course the most important. There is no conflict between Yi and Hisoka. Give him the breath of an Archangel, harmless. This is really unexpected at 14 tilde. Hisoka's eyes narrowed slightly. What are you thinking about? But thinking of the lackluster eyes I saw before, I finally chose to give up. Quite a while. Gain. A beautiful figure appeared in the air. The light representing the holy breath permeated her body. Excuse me, what's your mission? The Archangel looked at Hisoka and asked his purpose. To completely remove the biological toxins from my body. This moment. Even Hisoka has restrained a little. Hear Hisoka's request. The Archangel, who should have said, a trivial matter, was silent for a second. Okay, I'll do my best to get rid of the virus in your body. Different from conventional treatment. The figure of the Archangel leaned towards Hisoka. Arms wrapped around Hisoka's shoulders. A warm hug. Under the hug, the figure of the archangel gradually disappeared. It turned into a holy light and poured into Sasuo's body. Yi sat aside, watching all this with interest. After a few minutes, the figure of the archangel completely disappeared. Hisoka's breath continued to expand. It soon reached the level of Yukushin. However, the improvement of breath has not stopped, and continues to climb. At the same time, a lot of light in the sky flew towards the direction of Yi. Xiaoji and others are the closest. Arrive first. Looking at the 3 bomb demons under Yi's butt, I mourned for him for 3 seconds. I didn't expect that Gonshu and the others would observe us at such a close distance. It's really careless. Bishiji walked to Yaiki's side. It was as if he didn't feel the pressure of Reiatsu at all. Curiously looked at the 3 people under Yi's ass. From this position, you can clearly see the forest where they walked before. This distance has already exceeded the circle range of ordinary capable people, and it is normal for you to not feel it. Yi got up from Gonshu's body. The spiritual pressure is powerfully increased. The 3 groaned and lost their breath. The body gradually turned into light. Eventually completely dissipated. This scene was watched by everyone present. But no one dared to say anything. Gonshu's behavior of killing players in the game, even pulling it out and shooting it 100 times is not enough. Such a simple death was considered cheap and comfortable in their opinion. More and more rays of light are flying towards this place in the air. The narrow rock wall was almost impossible to stand on. Many of the players looked at Yi from time to time. Greedy. It was vividly displayed at this moment. They didn't think about why Ganshu had the most cards a few minutes ago. Now it has been replaced by Night 1. For these players who are watching themselves, Yi will give them a free ticket to heaven. Of course, not all players are so ignorant. I still want to reach a cooperation with Yi. If they get card number 000 the ruler's blessing, I hope Yi spends money to buy this card. In this regard, Yi gave him a sneer. Joke. He collected all the cards and triggered the quiz. Still want him to spend money to buy cards. Think more. 10 minutes of preparation time passed quickly. Now start the Q&A. The first question is about card number 1, the dense forest of Yiping, the elder who will give important reminders. His name is... The last question, the name of card 0 is... A. The ruler's blessing. B. The ruler's hospitality. C. The ruler's hospitality. Yi chose A without hesitation. Even if you don't know what the answer is. But a summary of the previous game announcements clearly stated that the prize is the blessing of the ruler. It can be regarded as a sub-question. Yi thought that as long as he had a little brain, he could choose this question correctly. Select End. Administrator begins to announce the highest scorer of 250 posts. Next, the top scorer will be announced for everyone. The perfect score is 100 and the highest scorer gets 90 points. The player's name is Yichi. This result was not surprising to Yi. He personally obtained nearly 50 designated cards, and he naturally knew how to obtain them. Even if you get cards from other players, try to learn from their mouths how they got them. Therefore, Yi's understanding of the Greed Island card is no worse than that of Xiaoji and the others in the original time and space. All players have left Greed Island. Only one night was left. You can choose 3 designated cards to bring out the Island of Greed. Elena looked at Yi curiously. I want to see the expression on his face when he struggles with choosing those cards. Gold Libra, 073 Dark Emerald, 081 Blue Planet. Pity. Yi had already made a choice in advance and reported the card he wanted. Elena was a little disappointed. But still, according to the process, I sent blessings to Yi. The process of collecting cards is hard work. A faint smile flashed. With a smile, Yi Yi's figure slowly disappeared. Chapter 234 Sky Arena. A 200-story competition venue. Yi Yi sat in the audience, waiting for Ji Hee to appear. The surrounding spectators are constantly discussing the winning percentage of both sides in this game. Choose your favorite object to bet on. 2 days have passed since I cleared Greed Island. These 2 days, Yi Yi did not leave. The biennial Olympia Martial Arts Conference is about to start. Jixi has a record of 9 wins and 1 loss, but to participate in the conference requires the identity of the landlord as a stepping stone. Therefore, he needs to win 2 games to be able to play. A 200-level match. A landlord challenge victory. Today's game is Ji Hee's 11th game on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena. If you win, you have a challenge opportunity for a floor owner. Look at the enemy who is full of flaws. Subconsciously, he leaned in and punched. Unexpectedly, this punch turned out to directly KO the opponent. I'm so strong. Jixi looked at her hands that were calloused from training. A little sluggish. When the commentator saw the picture on the ring, he was so excited that he couldn't help himself. He pulled the microphone in front of him. Everyone read it right. Player Jixi just used 1 move to knock out player Marcellus. Mysteriously disappeared for 2 months, but when he came back, his strength showed an explosive growth. It's unbelievable. He must have gone to special training for 2 months for the Olympia Martial Arts Conference. With the enthusiasm of the narrator, the audience in the auditorium slowly reacted. Ji Hee moved too quickly. Before they knew it, the battle was over. This makes them feel unrealistic. It's amazing. This kid disappeared for 2 months and suddenly became so strong. If it wasn't for his appearance, I would have thought he was replaced. An audience member looks at Ji Hee in the ring. Feeling from the heart. He is a regular at Sky Arena. Of the 200-tier game. As a former Dark Horse player, Jixi has also watched Jixi's games. But that was already a few months ago. At that time, Jixi, although powerful, was far less powerful than it is now. The current Jixi makes him feel so good to be young. Other audience members were also discussing. Content varies. But it all revolves around one point, cheering Jixi's strength. In constant cheers. Jixi slowly exited the stage. Younggu Hut. Jixi, Xiaoji, and Kioran crossed their legs and closed their eyes in the living room. Doing basic training. Point. The more you go on in your practice, the more important the foundation becomes. Points. Let the heart focus on one point, stare at yourself, and set goals. Although it is only the most basic way of practice. Point, but it can make the capable person more proficient in his own mind. It is more convenient to use. As a basic practice, point can be said to be the top priority. Beside the 3. Biscuit plays with her beloved gem, the blue planet. Clear the island of greed on a night and you can take 3 designated cards. The beginning of the game. Biji and Jixi then stated their goals. But Yi Yi entered the game passively and didn't have the cards he wanted at all. After thinking about it, only 2 cards are selected. There was 1 vacancy left, so he took out the blue planet that Bishiji wanted. It was one of her wishes fulfilled. Nameless town. The bar in the center of the town is the place where the residents of this town relax every day. Bar business is naturally good. In return for these guests who often take care of the bar business. The owner, Billy Lin, specially installed a high-definition TV in the bar. Usually put some movies and TV shows for the casual guests in the bar to watch. Unfortunately, his move was criticized by all the guests. There is a TV show in the bar, Boss, Is Your Brain. Of course, Billy Lin didn't know that. Residents who finished their day's work habitually come to the bar and order a beer. Chat with an acquaintance next to you. But when chatting, I always feel that something is not right. It was not until I saw the TV in the hall that I discovered the TV series that were broadcast in the past. I don't know when the show will start. The information of the Olympia fighting tournament in the Sky Arena. Warm up for the upcoming martial arts tournament. To push the heat even higher. Nitro, the president of the Hunter Association. President of the Hunter Association, Nitro, will be in charge of the opening speech of this Olympia conference. President Nitro will give a speech on how to comprehend the crowd. Let's look forward to it together. Moment. The guests in the bar began to cheer. Although most of them don't know what the Olympia Congress is. They are indeed very familiar with the name of Kenitro. Just when they are happy and cheering. In the corner of the bar. There are 4 figures in cloaks. Watching all this coldly. Only felt the infinite anger. The man who abandoned their family, was on TV. Crunch tilde crunch tilde. One of the cloaked men. In anger, his hands squeezed out a creaking sound. Looking at the residents, the eyes were full of killing intent. Everything Nitro did, he remembered in his soul. Hearing Nitro at this moment, he could barely control his soul that wanted revenge. Sudden. Evil spirit, watch your movements. A cold voice came from the side. Let the evil spirit whose anger fills his entire brain regain some sanity. Don't you forget how much effort we put into this day. If we start a snake at this time and disrupt Lord Jed's plan, all our efforts will be in vain. The owner of the voice is not very old, only about 20 years old. But what he said made the demon regain his senses. I see, Shira. Anger was suppressed abruptly. But looking at Nitro on TV, his eyes are still full of resentment. Over the years of his life, he had become accustomed to suppressing his anger. But the resentment in his heart could not be concealed. All this is in the eyes of the man called Jade. Reaching out his left hand, he stroked the ring on his right index finger. Watching TV quietly. It's just that the cold aura kept overflowing from him. Olympia Congress. I didn't expect that after so long, the Sky Arena still exists. Whether it exists or not, only such a gorgeous place is the best destination for Nitro. I want to reveal everything the Hunter Association has done to our Shadow Clan here, and let the world see how much evil the Hunter Association has hidden. Anger. Every time he said a word, the anger in Jade's heart rose. After saying the last sentence, a dark aura suddenly emerged from his body. Evil ghost, Shira. The guys who will sing the praises of Nitro are all solved. Nitro, Nitro, it's all about Nitro. Our Shadow Clan has never been mentioned. Unwilling, anger, betrayal. Unforgivable, this is absolutely unforgivable. More and more dark aura poured out of him. This breath is centered on Jed and spreads outward. The residents cheering in the distance suddenly felt the coldness. The body began to tremble. Hey, Billy Lynn, what kind of air conditioning is there in such a cold day? In case I catch a cold, I won't come to you in the future. One of the guests quipped Billy Lynn, the bar owner. He didn't notice at all, there was a tall figure standing behind him. Hearing someone teasing him, Billy Lynn turned to look. But when he saw it, his eyes were full of fear. Run, run. Just say a word. Puff. Talese. Blood suddenly appeared in this peaceful tavern. Billy Lynn's head suddenly flew high into the air. Blood spurted frantically from the broken neck. The tavern is more peaceful. Next moment. Screams, uncontrollable screams resounded in the tavern. After a few minutes, 4 figures in cloaks walked out of the tavern. The footprints left behind were full of blood. Nitro, just wait. What you owe our Shadow Clan will soon be repaid by you. A cold voice echoed in this small town. Someone looked curiously at these 4 strange guys in cloaks. But the next moment, like a shell hit, the bodies suddenly shattered. With a gust of wind blowing, the town was gradually submerged in the wind and sand. Under this terrible natural disaster, no one can escape. Jade, Who left? Stroked the ring on his index finger again. The sandstorm became more violent. Bury everything completely. It was as if his past, everything was buried in the hands of that man. Nitro, I'm back. Sand blows. The four figures gradually disappeared in this merciless sandstorm. It's like you've never been here before. Chapter 235 _ Time flies. A week passed quickly. The day of the opening of the Olympia conference has come. During this week, Jixi successfully challenged the landlord and won easily. Become the new owner of the 221st floor. This has become the most popular thing in the Sky Arena right now. Olympia Combat Tournament. A biennial feast in itself. Almost all the players in the Sky Arena want to participate in such a feast. Among them, there are some powerful players who have not yet become the main players. Sekai a week before the convention starts. Successfully challenge the landlord and obtain the qualification to participate in the conference. This feat has attracted other players to follow suit. Everyone hopes to become the new owner in this last week. Go to the biennial event. 200th floor of the Sky Arena was particularly intense this week. At the same time, this fierce battle attracted a large number of spectators who came to watch the game. Let the organizers of the Sky Arena make a lot of money. If not for the opening time of the Olympia conference, the world has been informed. They really wanted to postpone this convention for a few days. Earn some more money. Unfortunately, none of this can be changed. The Sky Arena itself has a lot of people, and now the number of people is even more. Yi, Xiaoji, Chi-Chi 18, Orifice Disease 1. People Zhongbi about Ba Ping Pa people. Get out of Yungu Hut. Head towards the Sky Arena. Along the way, people from time to time recognize Jixi's identity. Ask him for an autograph. Among them are all the young and beautiful female tourists. After they saw Jihee's bronzed skin and tough muscles, a different idea came to mind. Eat a tender grass, is it not too much? When asking for a signature, don't forget to leave your number. There was no scruples about Yi and the others on the side. Even to Jixi's blessing, Yi and others received a lot of numbers. Bai Siji watched all this silently. An invisible aura filled the surroundings behind her. Until you enter the Sky Arena. Bishiji's aura changed slightly. Look at the popular disciples. Helplessly sighed. The disciple is too good, it is also a kind of trouble. Enter venue. Everyone walked straight to the front row. Because Jixi was promoted to the landlord, he won several tickets in the front row. This can be regarded as the Sky Arena, some benefits for players. Find your place. Yi casually flipped through the Sky Arena and prepared the information on the landlord's introduction in advance. Over half a day. It can be seen that they are all characters on the killer bounty list. Many of the landlords offered bounties for more than 10 billion ringgits. These prices are not high though. It can be thought of the low strength of those landlords, and Yi can also understand. Openly took out his phone. 4 landlord tasks with tens of billions of bounties were selected. This operation, in the eyes of Bai Siji and others, is nothing to do, playing with the phone to pass the time. Nobody cares. I'll go to the bathroom and be right back. Take the task. Yi said to Yunji Yu, then got up and left. The few people who were chatting earnestly nodded their heads to indicate that they knew, and then continued to chat. Organize Boss Arthur, an ordinary killer leader. Before Yi entered the Island of Greed, he offered him a reward of 10 billion yuan. Clear the Island of Greed. Found that this delegation has been completed. The one who started, happened to be the new number 1 trained in the organization. It's like a joke. Leave the game venue. Find a piece of staff's workshop. Randomly picked out a work uniform and put it on. He walked straight to the direction of the master's lounge. Has the experience of hitting 200 floors. Those familiar with the planning of the Sky Arena at night can no longer be familiar with it. There were even many female staff members who greeted Yi Yi. Yi Yi has a handsome face and a cold temperament. No matter where you go, it will attract people's attention. If he is just an ordinary tourist, or a contestant, the staff of the Sky Arena cannot initiate a conversation due to work reasons. But Yi Yi was wearing the uniform of the Sky Arena at this time. The surface of his own identity at this time. This means that he is a pig that can hold cabbage. Pity. Yi Yi was not interested in it. Enter the elevator. An unexpected acquaintance meets the elevator lady from a year ago. Still holding this position at the moment. Even though she has the strength to compete with the 200th floor players, she still sticks to the position of Miss Elevator. You have to admire her perseverance. Airship Crew Center. An airship descended slowly. After a few minutes. In a blue suit, an uncle who looked like he was in his 30s walked out of the flight attendance center. But he is actually a young man who looks like an uncle, but is actually 18 years old. Look at the watch on your wrist. A wry smile escaped involuntarily. It's a full hour late for the scheduled landing, and the airship company is really embarrassing. Leo Lee looked around, looking for a taxi heading towards the Sky Arena. But the surrounding emptiness completely ruined his idea of taking a taxi. Have no choice. Leary could only take the shortcut to the Sky Arena towards the surrounding hall. Jogged all the way. Trying to get to the venue before the convention starts. Think about it, it's been 3 months since you said goodbye to Yukishin. Time flies so fast. If Xiaoji and the others see what I'm thinking now, they will be shocked. Leo Lee used his ability to awaken in Yukexen. Occasionally move from one corner to another in an instant. Quickly approach the Sky Arena in this way. It's just that his luck seems to be lacking. When I used teleportation again, I continued to approach the Sky Arena. Instantly move over a sewer without a manhole cover. The moment of falling. Just stepped on the edge of the manhole cover. Plop. Fell straight into the sewer. Chapter 236 _ Damn. Who made the manhole cover like this? It's very dangerous. Leo Lee crawled out of the sewer with a miserable face. While complaining, he looked at his suit distressedly. This suit is his favorite. She has been wearing this suit since before she participated in the Hunter test. Now that more than a year has passed, he has not changed the suit, which is enough to show his love for this suit. Pity. At this time, his favorite suit was all stained with sewage from the sewer. The unacceptable stench gave him a headache. Oh, damn naughty egg. If you let me know who was so naughty and sneakily remove the manhole cover. I must use my size 43 feet to kick his ass hard. While cursing. Hey. Leo Lee squatted down and closed the manhole cover again. As a doctor, he couldn't let go of the manhole cover that could cause harm to others. After doing all this, Leo Lee pulled out a handful of banknotes from his wallet. In order to protect his small money, Leo Lee's wallet chose a waterproof design. This filthy suit is obviously unable to continue to wear. All he can do is buy a new suit. But the act of taking out the money suddenly stopped. A scorching gaze that could not be ignored came from behind. Accompanied by this scorching gaze, there is also a murderous intent full of evil thoughts. With Yukishin's experience, Leo Lee got up without hesitation and ran forward. But he just took a step. The body was suddenly unable to move. Evil thoughts, an evil thought that almost condensed into essence struck. Under this evil thought, Leo Lee lost control of his body. Move, hurry up. My heart is constantly calling out to my body. But no matter how he called, the body shrouded in evil thoughts cannot move at all. Sue. Accompanied by the sound of this broken air, a hand knife swung towards Leo Lee's neck. Click. There was a soft sound from the back of the neck. Liu Li instantly lost consciousness and fell to the ground weakly. Because of the previous action of kneeling to cover the manhole cover. He was on his knees on the ground. His head rested weakly on the ground, his ass pouted high. The last moment of consciousness. Liu Li only heard of vicissitudes of life. What to do with him? The evil spirit looked at the filthy Liu. Such a dull guy felt that he was really dirty with his hands when he shot him. With a look of disgust, he took out a few from Liu Li to get started. Wipe the filth from your hands. Do it all. The devil looked at Jed beside him. With a respectful look on his face, he asked how he would deal with Liu Li. Jed looked at Liu Li, who was pouting. Rarely silent. Quite a while. There's no need to kill him. Jed looked away from his ass. Look at his stupid look, he doesn't look like a professional hunter. The devil hears the words. Squat down and reopen the manhole cover you just closed. He grabbed Liu Li and threw it directly into the sewer. Do it all. Several people resumed their previous trips. Head towards the sky arena in the distance. All that remains is a sewer without a closed manhole cover. ... Sky arena. Yi Yi stepped out of the elevator. The elevator lady behind her kept a smile and watched Yi Yi leave. Walked towards the direction of the main floor lounge in memory. The staff I met along the way. They greeted each other without exception. At this moment, Yi Yi was like a real Sky Arena staff. After a few minutes. On the night of the night, he came to the door of the master's lounge. Knock tilde knock tilde knock tilde. Knocking on the door is polite. Then he pushed the door straight in. At the same time, take advantage of the moment when the light turns on and off when you push the door. 4 invisible spots of light. Shot at this moment. Feel the 4 people with spiritual power buried in their hearts. Yi Yi smiled slightly. Ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony of Olympia is about to begin. Please arrive at the venue in time after the opening ceremony. Flowers. Respectful voice. It looks like a real Sky Arena staff member. Cut. We naturally know such trivial matters, and we don't need your reminder. It seems that they dislike the Sky Arena and treat them as children. One of the owners looked disdainful. The arrival of the night seemed to disturb him. To this, there was still a smile on his face. But if you look closely, you can see the coldness in the depths of his eyes. Then, don't disturb the landlords to prepare. Turn around and push the door to leave. Only at the moment of leaving the door. Another imperceptible light spot flew out of his hand. 0. Passed through someone's heart in an instant. This attack, like the previous one, won't kill you instantly. Only during vigorous exercise. The spiritual power contained in it will explode in an instant. As the heart of the carrier, it will naturally fall apart. Do everything. Yi Yi walked towards the direction of the competition venue again. It's just that this time, I changed the elevator to take the night. Find the room where the work uniform was taken before and change into the original clothes. After a few minutes, he came back to the game venue. Xiaoji and the others are still chatting, speculating who the champion of this conference will be. Yunji Yu looked at the time on the phone. Brows furrowed slightly. When Xiaoji saw this scene, he suddenly thought of Liu Li. The conference is about to start, why hasn't Liu Li arrived yet, will something happen? Although Liu Li didn't, he told Xiaoji and Kixing Jiaoshu that he was serving as Dr. Jixi. Can be used as Jixi's apprentice and brother. The two have been living in Yungu's hut for the past few days. By chance, before I heard Yunji Yu mention this, I knew that Liu Li would also be there. Who knows tilde maybe he overslept, or was almost there. Qiguan Bad Haggard Wei Rui leisurely looked at the magazine in his hand. Sudden. Chu Mang Dixie's Foundation. Pull your eyes out of the magazine. Sun. Chapter-227 _. The odd radon old meow now 14, GA Theta is in the magazine in hand. Xiaoji can be heard mentioning Liu Li. It reminded him of another partner. Speaking of which, Kurapika called me before, and he will also come to the conference. Chiguo looked at Xiaoji. Somewhat embarrassed. This matter was told to me a week ago, and I forgot. The bottom of the strange peptone hired aluminum to send the law to the second. Play cute. Trying to get this out of the way. Xiaoji opened his mouth slightly. Seems to want to say something. But looking at the appearance of Kiluo, he finally sighed helplessly. ... Time passed little by little. More and more people came to the venue. Soon, the auditorium around the venue was already full of people. Even so, there are still many spectators without seats. Those of them who didn't get tickets, even if they were standing on the sidelines, they would never get tired of it. Explanation. In the commentary room, the audience was introduced to the process of the Olympia competition. Soon, in the eyes of everyone's expectations, Nitro's figure appeared on the TV. At this moment, all the audience present began to cheer. To be able to watch the biennial Olympia Congress, most of the audience are martial arts enthusiasts. For the big name of Nitro, it can be said that almost no one knows. Seeing such a powerful character appear, they cheered from the heart. Sitting in his seat at night, looking at Nitro on TV, holding a note in his hand, he spoke casually. Without caring about his appearance at all, he will broadcast it all over the world. At the same time, in the corner of the venue, the figures of the four evil spirits stood in the shadows. They wore capes, in stark contrast to other tourists watching the convention. Attracted the attention of many people. It's more like attracting the attention of others than hiding the figure. But the four of them didn't realize this at all. Watch Nitro's speech carefully. The leader of the four is the revived Jade. Looking at Nitro talking on the TV. His hands clenched subconsciously. He will never forget what the hunter did to Shadow. And Nitro killed him in order to cover up the truth. Under this anger, intense resentment burst out. It continued to spread around. Nitro, who was speaking on TV, was suddenly stunned for a moment. Stopped continuing to speak, scribbled directly to the end. This sudden change made everyone sluggish, and did not expect such an operation. When the commentator saw this scene, she was also stunned. It's just that she reacted faster and faster than others. He spoke words that he knew what he meant. Forcibly help Nitro Circus. Humph. Jed recovered the resentment that had spread around him. The gloomy atmosphere around him slowly disappeared. Fairies, running on the ring. Wish of fairies. He couldn't help but think of the wishes of himself and others. He snorted disdainfully. He looked at the short girl in front of him. Purgatory, you are strong. In this sentence, there is a trace of reluctance that he himself has not noticed. Purgatory was silent for a moment. The eyes that have lost their light are sluggish. Finally nodded slowly. How many years has she been looking forward to this moment, isn't it? The girl persuaded herself like this in her heart. But what was in her mind, only she knew. See you Neri. Shira looked at the faint change in the head of the girl in front of him. The ending was already known. At the same time, he was also ready to meet her. Grey Clams and the others are ready on the sidelines. Don't worry, you will not be alone, we are with you. A smile appeared on Shira's face. Die. But it's a new beginning. The evil spirit watched all this and fell silent. If the injustice of the Shadow clan can be washed away, it is indeed worth it. The price seems a bit too high. Dispatch. Jed listened to everything. But his expression didn't change in any way. One command. The three evil spirits, Shira, and Purgatory instantly disappeared from the crowd. However, they don't know. From the moment they entered the conference venue, the four of them had been exposed to Yi Yi's perception. Although the origin of these four people is unknown. But the energy in the body is completely opposite to the thought. But it caught Yi Yi's attention. Everything they said was heard by Yi Yi. Sit in the audience. The corners of Yi Yi's mouth rose slightly. Seems like something interesting happened. Hey Xiaoji, let's find Mr. Nitro before the game starts. Qian beside him seemed to have some idea. Suddenly got up and invited Xiaoji. The two learned new skills under Bai Siji's hands. Naturally, he wanted to show his hand in front of the old man. Chi was annoyed and got Xiaoji's consent. The two shuttled through the crowd and gradually drifted away. Yi Yi quietly closed his eyes and leaned on his position. Use Reiatsu to sense everything that is happening around you. 184 people, interesting. An inexplicable number spewed out of his mouth, attracting Bisuki's attention. However, in the face of her inquiry, Yi Yi just dismissed it on the grounds that there were no seats around and the number of people standing watching the opening ceremony. Then I ignored Bisijina. You take me as a fool. Look. Close your eyes. Waiting for the good show to start. The other side. Small alley near Sky Arena. Crows circled the surrounding roofs, screaming from time to time. Ga, ga. Below the crows. It's a sewer without a manhole cover. Dong tilde dong tilde dong tilde. A faint sound came from the sewer. Attract the attention of the crows in the sky. Sudden. A hand sticks out of the sewer. Ga tilde ga tilde. The crow was startled by this suddenly outstretched hand. They flew into the air. Quite a while. Leo Li's figure climbed out of the sewer. Now he became even more miserable. Even the money to buy a new suit was lost in the sewage. Chapter 238 Sky Arena. The top floor room where Nitro is located. Nitro was a little surprised by Xiaoji and Chichimu chewing. I didn't expect to meet these two little devils here. Feel the breath of the two constantly approaching. Nitro had a smile on his face. Little devils, they are also starting to grow up. Just pick up a volleyball from the side. It was like a volleyball game when we first met. A thought attached to the volleyball. The moment the elevator opens. Throw it in the direction of the two. Let me see how you two grow. Touching the beard on the chin. Nitro began to look forward to it. Xiaoji and Chi Dumpling are ready to play in the elevator. Although they did not inform each other. It's like telepathy. One side wants to test their strength, and the other side wants to show the results of their training. This may be the hunter's intuition. The moment the elevator opened, a trace instantly reversed dozens of directions in the air, and quickly rammed towards the two of them. A smile appeared on the corners of their mouths. Reach out together to block the volleyball. An easy 14 catches the ball. Far away. Nitro walked slowly towards the elevator entrance. Even if you don't see the picture. But through perception, Nitro already knew everything. Hu tilde ho. It seems that your strength has improved. Can easily catch his volleyball. Such progress is not a little bit. Even the original hunter examiner. Menchi, Buhara and others cannot easily do this now. The strength of the two has surpassed most of the capable people in the world in just 1 year. Such talent made him think of another disciple. Get out of the elevator. Xiaoji touched his head embarrassedly when he heard Nitro's praise. In his opinion, he can be as powerful as he is today. All thanks to Bisuki's teaching. And Bishiji and others also mentioned that her strength was taught by Nitro when she was young. That is to say, Nitro is Xiaoji, Chi Dumpling, Omega Gear Neon Omega Idol. Can be regarded as the grandfather of the two. Being able to get the praise of his grandfather really made him a little embarrassed. Compared to Xiaoji, strange larvae have settled a lot. Although no longer engaged in the occupation of killers. But the calm style of being in trouble seems to have been engraved in the soul summary. Come in and have a cup of tea. Nitro took the volleyball thrown by Jay again. The two were invited. Although he is the president of the Hunter Association, he is helped by the Bean Noodles to handle various documents every day. He looked tired. It is rare to come out to play and listen to the adventure stories of the juniors. Also interesting, isn't it? When Xiaoji received the invitation, the smile on his face was even wider. At the same time, 200th floor of the Sky Arena. I'm so disappointed in this year's contestants, I'm panicking now tilde. Why don't you play with me tilde? In every sense tilde. Hisoka sat boringly on the sofa. Tired of posing the poker pyramid over and over again. In front of him. It's Kurapika in a black suit. With that handsome face and the icy temperament on his body. Gives a feeling of high coldness of the iceberg goddess. Kurapika frowned slightly. Although the Nasla family completely died out in Yukishin. But this did not prevent her from finding a new home to fulfill her wish to collect the target of the clan. The arrival this time is to accompany the new family to watch the martial arts conference. You called me over for such a boring thing. I don't have time to play games with you. Under the cold breath. With an irresistible malice attached. Graham's body is equally gifted. In just 3 months of training, he easily surpassed his previous strength. Even because of the ability attached to this body, her ability is even better. Ha tilde ha ha tilde. That's right, that's it, that's it. Looking at Kurapika who was emitting maliciousness in front of him. Hisoka's expression was full of anticipation. Looking forward to something happening between the two. The breadth of the body spread out together, and the whole room suddenly became depressed. What the rose virus brought to his body was not just persecution. Physical destruction, rebirth, destruction. Dozens of repeated experiences. Instead, he polished his body to be stronger. Even the thoughts in the body are several times stronger. Hungry. In this week's time, he just happened to completely control the skyrocketing strength on his body. There is an urgent need for an opponent who can fight him and discover the desire to fight. But the landlords of the Sky Arena are like trash fish. No one could get into his eyes. It just so happened that I felt Kurapika's breath. A beautiful opponent appeared. Unfortunately, Kurapika just glanced. The breath on his body slowly returned to his body. Sorry see, you have the wrong person. I'm so busy right now that I don't have time to play cards with you. She is still on a mission and needs to protect her employer. There's no time to spend time with Hisoka here. He turned around and walked towards the door. There was no intention of stopping. It's so cold tilde. Hisoka's excited expression slowly disappeared. Only a full-fledged fight on both sides willingly is what he pursues. Kurapika's attitude made him feel like he had nowhere to go. Can only helplessly swing his hands to both sides. A helpless look. However, the next moment, the conversation really changed. If you are here, does it mean that Xiaoji and the others are here too? Lean on the sofa. The icy aura was undisguised and released outwards. In order for Kurapika to play against him, he didn't mind mentioning the other two small fruits. After all, he just mentioned it. What Kurapika thinks, that's her own business. A smile emerged from his face. Kurapika took a pause as he left. But the next moment, he resumed his original pace. I'm sorry, I always act alone, Xiaoji and others can't threaten me. Chapter 239 Kurapika leaves the room. Hisoka still smiled. As if he didn't care about it at all. Leisurely playing the poker in front of him. After a few minutes. Bring down the poker pyramid. The smile on his face slowly dissipated. I see tilde. It's really boring tilde. As a qualified fruit farmer, how could he pick apples before they are ripe? Mention Xiaoji, Xiaojiaoshu. It was just to use their names to coerce Kurapika into fighting him. Pity. Kurapika saw this at a glance. Just leave neatly. He looked at the playing cards scattered all over in front of him. Hisoka's face returned to a smile. Then, let's continue playing. Pick up the scattered playing cards. Put it back on the ground. The poker pyramid that was torn down stood up in front of Hisoka in just a few minutes. Next moment, one hand shoved the poker pyramid into it. Seeing the poker cards scattered all over the place, Hisoka's smile was even more pronounced. Game venue. Although the game has not started, but the narrator is constantly introducing the information of the landlords. Start the warm-up before the game. Around the arena, the audience heatedly discussed their favorite landlord. In such a tense atmosphere, the big screen on the ring suddenly switched to a new screen. All the landlord's information is displayed on the screen. Next, we will start to draw opponents for the landlord duel. Let's see which landlords will start a tense and fierce battle. Miss Narrator. He waved his arms on the commentary stand in the distance. It seems that he has imagined how exciting the next battle will be. Under her lead, almost all the audience turned their attention to the big screen above the ring. Goo. Many people swallowed nervously, looking forward to the next battle. The organizers of the Sky Arena seem to understand that these audience members are anxiously waiting. The lottery process was quick. Completely random selection by computer. This also avoids the possibility of human manipulation. Under the expectation of everyone, the big screen quickly presented the form of all players fighting. First round. Jihee vs Hanjiru. The photo of the two of them quickly zoomed in on the screen. Moment. The audience throughout the arena became extremely excited. The selection of candidates for the competition means that the battle is about to begin. The biennial event feast has officially begun. Jixi, Jixi, Jixi. Hanjiru, Hanjiru, Hanjiru. The audience kept cheering the names of the two men. As the owners of Sky Arena, the two are not low profile. Even if Jixi became the landlord, it only took a few days. But the record of successful temporary challenge made him even more welcome. People's nature is to watch the fun. Defeat the old boss and take part in the Olympia conference. Such melons, they are very happy to eat. Yi heard the constant cheers in his ears. Open your eyes again. During the time he closed his eyes, he constantly sensed the situation around him. Xiaoji and Chi Dumpling arrived beside Nitro. At this time, the breaths of the three gathered together. Are having tea and chatting. As for content, it is not difficult to guess that this is nothing more than the experience of Yukushin or the Island of Greed. Can be in the vicinity of the three people's breath. A cold, dark aura was also approaching. The three people who were eating tea seemed to be unaware of this. But Yi didn't care. This breath is not strong. Even Xiaoji and Chinashi are better than her. With Nitro here, what is Yi still worried about? Bai Siji and Yunji Yu both sat beside Yi. Looking at Xiaoji and the strange eyes miasma arc. They didn't know what the two were doing with Nitro. Jihee's game is about to start. The two have not returned. Look at each other. Helplessly sighed. Still a child, completely forgetting the purpose of coming here. The two of them probably won't be able to see Jixi's battle with their own eyes. Ah, come out. There was a sudden revelry. Attracted the attention of several people. I saw two figures slowly walk out of the player channel below. Explain Miss. Also began to introduce the game to the audience. In the first match, Jihee chose to face off against Hanjiru. As you can see, there is a huge difference in size between the two players. It can be said that it is a super heavyweight player against a mosquito heavyweight. I don't know how Jihee will deal with such a difference in body shape. The difference in size between Jixi and his opponent. It seems that he has the disadvantage before the game starts. But such a contrast drew cheers from the audience. Some people like to watch rollovers. Some people like to watch counterattacks. Everyone has different preferences. It can be said that the contrast between the two just meets the needs of most people. Something's wrong. This person doesn't seem to be Hanjiru. Bishiji next to Yi suddenly questioned. although she has not seen Hanjiru with her own eyes. You can also have a certain understanding of Hanjiro's body shape through the manual issued by the official Sky Arena. Hanjiru is a typical Li Hao wrestler. Thick limbs, severe accumulation of abdominal fat. Even with a cloak, it is impossible to cover up that big lump of fat. She hunts for gems around the world as a professional hunter. He has ample experience in the control of intelligence. Just because of her size, Bisuki noticed something unusual. Certainly. The difference is so huge. It wasn't just Bizji who sensed something was wrong. Jihi looked at his opponent. His brows furrowed tightly. Hanjiro left with him from the main floor lounge. What the other party looks like, he knows best. The man in the cloak in front of him obviously couldn't be Hanjiru. The training on the island of greed made him subconsciously vigilant about his surroundings. Speak your purpose, stranger. Loud. Jihi's face was full of positivity. Chapter 240 The Island of Greed Experience. Let Jixi, the original immature and inflexible character, change. Of course, the direction of change is to change for the better. Greed Island. A game that is always alert to the players around you. You never know what the other person will do to you. Is the use of peeping at your card. Or use pickpocketing, stealing, etc. Cards to steal your cards when you're not looking. He has experienced a lot of such tricks. Even simple people can grow. Not everyone in this world is kind. Bona fide. Only release to those who also release kindness to you. Purpose. The devil looked at the little devil in front of him. His face was full of disdain. Of course it's a riot. Insane tone. It seems to ignore everything. The voice just fell. The entire venue changed. The signal linking to the outside world was cut off instantly. The live broadcast of the Olympia conference on the 5 continents has all become whooping. It's impossible to know what's going on here. Watch in front of TV people watching the conference live. At this moment, everyone thought that there was a problem with their own TV. But many people checked it, but found nothing unusual. Started to constantly greet the organizers of Sky Arena and the technical staff in charge of live broadcasts. This saw the key place, but suddenly stopped broadcasting. It's just messing with everyone's mentality. At the same time, 184 armed men were hiding in the dark. They came out from all corners of the venue. Controlled the entire audience in one fell swoop. At the same time, all the passages of the Sky Arena were instantly blocked by iron gates. Completely cut off the possibility of entering and leaving with the outside world. Such a resolute approach. Let everyone present fall into a sluggishness. Everything happened too quickly, and in just a few seconds, everything was done. Damn. Bishiji got up subconsciously. I want to deal with the armed men around me. But the machine guns were aimed at the ordinary audience beside her. Use this as a threat. Helpless, Bishiji could only sit down angrily in the end. Yunji Yu and Yi Yi. There is a precedent for Bai Siji, and he does not dare to act at will. Of course, Yi Yi simply didn't want to move. On the ring. The devil moved his body. He looked at Jihi, who was standing opposite him. Do you think I'm so mean? Seems to want to hear some answers. Unfortunately, Jixi didn't say what he wanted to hear. No. But as long as you secretly attack and don't talk about martial arts, you don't deserve to be a martial artist. The legs are split halfway back and forth. Squat down slightly. Arms in an attacking stance. Jixi is ready to duel with the strong man in front of her. This action of his made the evil spirits interested. Hey kid, I like what you said. The moment the voice fell, the body of the evil spirit rushed towards Jixi. The audience outside the venue, although the freedom of life is restricted. It can be seen that a wonderful battle is about to appear. He looked at the two subconsciously. Swell. The moment the evil spirit rushed towards Jixi, Jixi also launched a violent attack. The arms of the two were wrapped in resentment and thoughts respectively. Strengthen the arms of the two. Although Jixi is not an enhancement-type ability person, as a disciple of Xinyuanliu, the physical training is not lost to the strengthening system. The two collided violently. Loud noise spread out from the ring. A burst of smoke rose out of thin air, obscuring the picture on the ring. Two people. His figure was blurred under the smoke. The audience outside the venue could only see two figures, constantly colliding and separating under the illumination of the ring lights. They attacked each other with exaggerated speed. In just a few seconds, they attacked each other nearly 100 times. The strength of the two cannot be distinguished in a short period of time. Jixi even vaguely has the upper hand. Occasionally, before the evil spirit can react, he will effectively injure him. And after a successful hit, he quickly retreated. Don't give the evil ghost a chance to turn against you. Blood spilled on the ring. The smoke dissipated. All the audience saw was the wounds all over the body of the evil spirit. His opponent, Jixi, only had some blood on his clothes. It doesn't appear to have any injuries. Such a sudden change made the surrounding audience stunned. The already quiet venue became even quieter. Next moment, deafening cheers erupted from the audience. After seeing the picture on the ring, their hearts are full of hope. Jixi can hurt this man, so it seems not impossible to defeat him. If Jihe defeats this man, will this crisis be resolved? When the crisis is resolved, the safety of all is guaranteed. In such thoughts, everyone began to shout for Kai Likes. Shouted his name loudly. However, in this deafening cheer, Biji's face was full of worry. She taught Jixi to practice every day, and she naturally knew how powerful Jixi was. This moment, although Jihe was able to maintain the leading state, but as an operator of the operating system, close combat itself is full of disadvantages. According to her observation, Jixi's physical exertion at this time is far more than usual training. Sweat on forehead. She was able to detect it without paying attention. But his opponent's situation at this time is diametrically opposite. Although his body was covered with wounds, his breathing was still steady. In the long run, the loser must be Jixi undoubtedly. How she wanted to jump straight from the audience at the moment. Come to the arena in one fell swoop to get rid of this uninvited guest. But the surrounding armed personnel made her have to give up this idea. Can only pray silently. Hope Jihe is safe and sound. The other side. Nitro looked at the door of the lounge that suddenly opened. And the cloaked girl standing at the door. His face became heavier. Impossible, I have already sealed him. Next moment. Puff. The sharp blade suddenly plunged into the heart.